All right, Tristan, well, we exhausted the Eagles and Sirianni as much as we possibly could. Let's move on to the team they were facing on the other side of the ball, the New Orleans Saints, who I thought had a pretty easy win this week. I was wrong. Does this expose the Saints in this loss?
Expose is a tough word, interesting way to put it. I think kind of, yes, because the hype around Derek Carr, around the team, was getting a little too big. I didn't buy into it. That's why I picked the Eagles, even though I didn't like it. One of the only picks, by the way, it's not like I can brag about picks, but that's the only one I got, and I'm going to enjoy my moment while I have it. The rest of the show's downhill. I do think it kind of exposed them. Not that they're still a very good team, but it's clear the Saints have to play and win a certain way. The Saints have to run the football a lot and successfully. They have to run the football to build play action passes so they can pass off a play action, and they really need to play from a lead. That's what we've seen in the first two games. They've been able to run the ball really well, pass off of the run, play from a lead, and when they do that, they can kind of control the game and really dictate the flow of the game. They weren't able to do that here. Alvin Kamara, 26 carries for 87 yards. That's only 3.3 a carry. No other running back was even relevant. Derek Carr was not good in this game. 14 for 25, 142 yards, a touchdown, and the pick at the end of the game, which sealed it, a really bad pick. That's kind of who Derek Carr has always been. If you're in a comfortable situation, if things are, going according to the game script, he's pretty good. But when things get rocky and he has to make plays outside of the scheme, it just doesn't go well. And I think we even said that last week. Either I said it or you said it. We were talking about we want to see the Saints in a tough game where they're having to play from behind or battle. And we saw that, and they did not look very good. So I think it kind of depends on the opponent. Did it expose them? Yes. Are they still a team that can, be a playoff contender? Absolutely. But they need games to go a certain way for them.
Yeah, and I think it really highlights the talent of the defenses they were facing in week 1 and week 2. You have the Carolina Panthers up first, and they demolished them.
Yeah, and Dallas has one of the worst rush defenses in the league.
and that's where I was coming to. We'll talk about that in just a couple more segments from here. But one thing I want to highlight is I think this was a great way for, if you had a question mark around the Saints, like, are they really this good? This was the game that brought them back down to reality. This was the game that put a very even matched defense and offense against their corresponding offense and defense. I think these two teams are very similar in some aspects. I do think the Saints, they are ranked as the first offense overall in all of NFL, according to PFF. So I still think this offense is very high-powered. In my opinion, I think they stuck with the run a little too much today. I think I texted you at one point and said, man, just throw the ball. Derek Carr was having some success through the air, and I understand that they were, really gung-ho about giving Kamara the ball and getting him yards and all that, but I just think every time he ran the ball, it was just shut down. At some point, you have to pivot, or at least throw some RPOs or something like that, but it was a very one-dimensional type offense today.
Right, but I think that's kind of what they are. I think they're a good offense. I think they have a good scheme, but I really do think it's all predicated on running the football and getting the defense in situations they don't want to be and controlling the game. I really think that's it. So, because you were like, man, I wish they quit running. I wish they'd throw the ball more. And I was like, yeah, but if they do that, I think it's going to go downhill, because you kind of saw that as the game progressed. When Derek Carr got into those must-throw situations, they're just not as good a team. They're easier to cover. Shaheed, he disappeared today. So they are explosive.
0 fantasy points for Shaheed.
Right. They can be an explosive team, but it all has to be going according to plan. Maybe, though, as the season progresses, they'll be able to iron that out and be able to, put on some points more at will, but they struggled to do that today. And if you have a defense that can kind of contain the run and make them play off balance and play from behind, I think you're going to be able to control them very well. The Saints defense is going to be good. That's the saving grace. Their defense is so good, it's going to keep their offense in almost every game.
Yeah, for sure. The defense is the highlight of the Saints. Always has been, really, since we've been following football. They seem to just maintain a great defense all the time. But, I will say they have a pretty tough gauntlet coming up. They have the Falcons, divisional opponent, coming up next. Then they have the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Broncos, the Chargers. And and then you play the Panthers again. So hopefully that you can find a win there. Maybe the Red Rocket throws you for a loop. I don't know. But I will say that in this division, I think you have one opponent that you have to really worry about after week 3, and that's Atlanta, just seeing how good they played the Chiefs tonight. And
really? You just write Tampa off that quick?
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but I think so.
No, we won't talk about it. We erased it.
Did we?
We threw that one out. We said that ain't making the cut.
Let's just put this in here then. I do not think that Tampa Bay is as good as I thought they were. So I think they are the 3rd best team in the NFC South right now, and I have no problem saying it. I don't think that if you don't have a running game in modern day NFL, you can't survive. And right now, White is not the guy. He's never been an in between the tackle runner. He's a pass catching running back. That's what he's used as, which they don't use him for that. So
correct.
Why even have him?
Well, we talked about that preseason.
Bucky Irving seems to be the guy for the in between the tackle stuff, but they don't use him enough. So I think you would agree with me. If you don't have a running game in this NFL this year, especially, you can't make it far in the division. I just don't think you can.
No,
because you look at every other team right here. Chuba Hubbard had a terrific game today. Maybe a little inflated, but I'm just saying he did. The Saints, you have Kamara. The Falcons, you have Bijan Robinson. You have these stud running backs who get yards every time they touch the ball. And I'm not putting Hubbard in the stud category yet.
I understand.
But today he was a stud. There's no way around that.
But Tampa doesn't have the real threat of being able to run the ball.
Don't.
If you say, hey, we're going to make Tampa beat us running the football, it's not going to happen. Whereas the Saints and the Falcons can do it, effectively. So I kind of agree. I definitely think it is the Saints and Falcons division to take. I think Tampa could maybe make things interesting, but luckily we get that matchup next week.
Right, that's true. And the flip side to that is if you don't have a running game, you best better have a good defense, to which the Bucs do not.
Okay, scale of 1 to 10, what's the concern level for the Saints after this loss?
Bringing it back to the Saints. I would say, like a 2 to 3. I'm not super concerned at all. I think they figured this out. As much as I hate to admit it, Dennis Allen seems to be a pretty decent head coach right now. It's subject to change. It's only week 3. But I think 2 to 3, if they don't figure it out by week 5 of how to utilize Derek Carr better in the games where the run script's not working, then it's definitely about a 7 or 8 then.
Yeah, let's see where New Orleans stands after the Kansas City game.